Okay, so the second object we looked at drawing was going to be the regular coffee mug or the tea mug. Right, now, depending on what one you have, they're all basically going to be the same. Right, it's also up to you whether you draw the handle on the right or the left. If you draw it, if you're looking in like that, and this one needs to be washed. Or if you draw it back this way. The only thing I'll say to you is I would like to be able to see this handle here like that at some point, somewhere around. Because that's going to be the difficult part of this. Right. So if we look at the mug, look at heights, look at widths. Right. This is the only bit of detail that's really on it. So we need to show that on the handle. So first thing you do when you're talking about that is you want to draw in our center line. Okay. And now, there was the X's method I showed you the last day, or depending on how good you are and how much easier you find it, I found this easier, is that I'd give a line here for the base. Just focus the camera there. Yeah, I'd give a line here for the base. I'd go, look at my mug, I'd go roughly, it's this high up. Right, and that is also roughly contained in this box here. Not quite. Maybe come in a little bit there. Not quite, but it's contained in this box here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go about drawing the top and bottom of it. Alright, so if I have that there, so that's at the base. So that's the angle I need to have my neck circle at, but it's going to be a little bit bigger. Okay, so you can see there it was a very fluid motion. There wasn't any stopping and going. It was just trying to get that rough shape. Once you have that rough shape, then you can do a little bit of work. So this is going to be a little bit taller than the mug actually is. What I can look at there is I can look at building my mug up to this height and then maybe just changing the height of it once I've drawn it. So I know that the mug has a slope going up, so I can join that up there like that. Okay, it's going to have a similar slope on this side. So working it up like that. Okay, and try to have it somewhat symmetrical to each side. Now, I've already said that looked earlier like it was going to be a little bit too high. It's actually not looking too bad there now that I've the sides in. So we'll just pay attention to it. But it should be okay. What you have then when you have that done is we're going to go around. Well, I'm going to go around. And I'm just going to heavier in the lines I want to actually keep. So you can see we're still not leaning on the pencil. Alright. But we are just getting that little bit more of a consistent colour out of it. Okay, so we have that as our basic shape. I'm going to carry the handle out, and there's a reason I had these planes in the first place, out along that plane. So the handle is actually going to sit in here, and that's the centre line of the handle going out. Now, that's going to contain the handles. The handle is going to go out and touch this point. The top point is going to hit here, and the base point is actually where it meets. But it's going to meet somewhere in here. If you were to think about this as a 3D, if I turn that mug like that, you can't see where it actually touches the body of the mug. So going from there, I can mark off here, I can mark off here, and I can say there. So this probably come into eye line around here if we're talking about that. And I'm going to step it back a bit off the drawing and bring that out like that. Now the reason I stepped it off of this here is so that I can go that much on the other side. So I could do this blending line here. And what that is that's the change of perception. So you're seeing the top disappears, and then you see the front of the underside. So where that came down, right, you'd keep this, and you'd copy the curve over and bring that in that way. Now there's another part that we need to do here, because technically this has a little bit more depth than that. And so that we'll add a top here. And where it changes, I'm going to add a little bit of thickness to it. Just like that. Now play around with that for a bit, because that can look really well sometimes when you do it, and it can look rubbish others. The other thing you need to do is you need to go around the top and offset. So when you come in the same shape, but it's maybe just a little bit thinner, it's called an offset. So this shape in here of the inner of the mug is offset from the edge. So it's exactly the same shape, but it's a mil or two thinner. And that's just to show that there's thickness in the material here. Okay. Once you have that done, we'll grab our pen or fine liner or marker, whichever one you have. If you're using a marker, use a thinner tip one, okay? And we're going to go around and we're going to just give this some body. And what I mean when I say body is that we're going to go around the parts that we're definitely keeping and just try to have one consistent line going around. So this isn't the usual fluidy lines I'm showing you. This is to look fairly consistent. Oops, going around, and as I say consistent, I make a mistake, but that's okay. Okay, and any divots like this or like that you can flesh out with the shading later. Also, if it's easier for the sketching, if you want to move the sheet around, by all means do. I would find that easier at the moment, but with the camera it wouldn't look right for you. It would end up being upside down, so that's why I'm not doing it. Okay, and we can just fill in that little mistake there. And I should just blend away a bit like that. Okay, at that side, we have the under part here. That comes up. And again, if it doesn't blend properly, you can just fill out the line a bit more. Right, now this. You need to make sure that your sketches and your pencil lines are absolutely right before you go over this with any bit of a pen. So what I'm looking at here is that this detail still doesn't quite look right. So what am I going to do? I'm going to bring this down. And I'm just going to pay attention. I'm going to follow the other line so as that all of the outside is the same line. So the furthest line out. Right, it might be different surfaces. So you see it goes from this surface here to the side surface here. That's fine. But we're just going to use that as our guide. What I'm going to do then is going from here, we're going to go up and that'll merge with that line, like that. This line then isn't going to merge either of them. This is going to be a fairly constant going around and again offset to the other original handle that's there. So you have that. And then this one here, I've decided there, I just wanted it to be a little bit thicker just for detail's sake. I'll push that in at that. And that's not the best, but it's not worse. Okay. Once you've that done now, again, you don't ever rub out your lines, but if you wanted to, especially because this is a white mug, you can lighten them up. Right, but you keep your guides, because your guides could actually be useful for other stuff as you're going through your sketches. Okay. So you can see it's still there. It wasn't leaning on the page by any means. And we have this shape now. Next part is that I had a bit of detail down here. The best thing you can do there is go away and grab a colour. So again, I just have here, we'll go pink. Okay, so your pink comes down like that, one continuous swoop. So we're going to try mimic that with a pencil. And I made a mistake of that. I was looking at the screen, so looking at what I was doing. Okay. And mistakes are welcome in all of this as well, just in case you don't think they are. The only way to learn is by making mistakes. Okay, and that merges off to one line, like that. Okay, so that's that coloured line. Now we have the ribbon. So the ribbon crosses here. It's a little bit thicker as well than the other line. See, it comes to a point there, fills back out and crosses the line a little bit. So there, comes back down, long sweep, and then out to the side. Long sweep and out to the side. Okay. Also, what you need to pay attention to, that one is on top. For this detail, for this mug anyway, your mug might be different. You mightn't even need all this detail at all. So what I'm going to do with that is, using my pencil, I'm just going to put that line in. Trying to keep to the edges. And just get a little bit heavier where it crosses. Just to show that it turns more than anything else. Okay. There's very little shading goes on with it. It's just colouring in exactly as it appears. Same with this one. Okay. So we have that design there on the front of the mug. Now, if you wanted to, you could go around the edges of that with the pen as well. There isn't really much of a need to do that. But look, I've started it now, we might as well finish it. And all that does is just makes your details stand out a bit. Okay. Nearly there. Okay. So you have those two there now. The last thing you need to do is you need to look at shading, because this looks like a fine mug at the moment, but you can't really tell much about it. So with the shading again, it will be, because it's a cylindrical or conical shape, the darker on the sides. So using the edge of the pencil, I can go around. And because it's white, I don't need to do too much to it. I can be quite light with my pencil and quite gentle with the pencil as well. Okay. You can leave one or two spots blank as well and come in just like that. The edges, as I said to you before, will be that little bit darker. As I said to you, as in graphics, this is as much about representing this as true as you can. Okay. Come up here. Again, darker in the corner. I'm going to say that this is the side that has, actually, what we're going to have is we're going to have our lights coming in from the front. That's the way I'm going to do this. So there should be a shadow back here when I'm done. But I'll also show you, because the way this mug is, there should be a shadow on the inside as well. And these sides will be a little bit darker. It's a way of adding a little bit more texture to your projects or to your sketches. Okay. Again, because it's white, you don't need too much shading. It's just shadows is all you're showing, really. You can see as well that I'm skipping pieces here. That's because this is a shiny mug. So you can see even yourself, there's that little glint of light there. There's a little glint of light there. If I was to turn it around, you'd see the light reflecting off of it. So that's all we're trying to highlight on this. Okay. We have that much. This here will be a little bit darker than the rest of it, because, as I said, if the light's coming in this way, then the mug is actually going to be hiding the light from that. Bring that up. As it goes up, it gets lighter. And in under here will be darkest. Okay. And we're also going to have a little bit of darkness here. Like that. That'd be a really shiny bit up here, so don't be too worried about doing anything up there. Maybe a little dot like that would help. Okay. What do we have left to do? We have to do the shading on the inside, and we have to do the little bit of a shadow at the back. So if you're looking at a little mug like this, and even if I just put this one down like that for you, what you'd see is a little bit more of a circular shape. It would copy this top edge, and the shadow would just be around like that on the inside, and that's just the light coming in off of this. So we copy the back edge. Or just possibly give an appearance of some things in there. Okay. And what you do then is you make sure that these sides here, again, are darker because there's going to be very little light hitting the edges there. Okay. And coming in from this side as well. You can play around with your lighting effects then on that. Or maybe I've made that a bit too dark, being perfectly honest with you, but for the purpose of this, it's grand. And the last but not least is you'd have a shadow coming out the back here. Okay, nearly there. All right. If you just see here, I've left this hang out a little bit more. That's just the light coming down from the handle. So if we're picturing this, the light should be coming in very much so from the top here. You can see how our sketching just gives that a little bit more shape to it. For years, I wouldn't be even too concerned about doing this detail on the inside. It looks a bit too dark for a white mug. If you had a darker mug or a textured one, it might be a little bit better. There's your mug for you.